Okay, 8th graders, it's your first lesson, an introduction about the first Americans and how they adapted to their environment. It's talking about, you're going to read through this and make notes. I'm going to make notes with you. I like to highlight and make different notes so you can see. I don't need to play it or select my reading level and my main ideas. I'm just going to use the highlighters as I am reading it. Okay? So, as the cold winter wind howls outside, the children huddle under thick fur blankets. They listen to their grandmother's soothing voice about a great spirit who ruled over a world of sky and water at the beginning of time. Then the great spirit, says the grandmother, created land, plants, and animals. Finally, from the living wood, the great spirit carved people for the new world. These Abenaki, children of New England, are learning a traditional story about how their people began. Most groups have beliefs about where they came from. So I'm going to highlight that because they all have, all these groups, it's a running thread. They all have a story and beliefs about how they came from. You may have heard stories about how your own relatives first got to the United States, but do you know where they were living 10,000 years ago? Only if you are American Indian do you have relatives in the United States that long ago. Europeans and other groups did not establish permanent settlements in North America until 500 years ago. That's important. For thousands of years, the first Americans had their continent to themselves. In this lesson, you learn about resourceful people, so the Indians are going to learn all about Native Americans, and creative ways that they adapted to their environment. Even today, scientists are still trying to figure out about the first Americans, the first Native Americans. These early people left written records, so researchers study other items they left behind. Not much has survived except for a few animal and human bones, some stones and metal tools, and bits of pottery. Scientists sift through these clues and try to imagine how they lived and how their lives were changed. They come up with ideas about how Native Americans adapted to their physical surroundings. When scientists find a new object, they have to figure out if that actually supports their idea or suggests a new idea. In our lifetime, we might learn a lot more about how the first Americans adapted to their environment and revise other conclusions. Revise means to change what we thought before. Examine this photograph of the Canadian forest. Imagine you finally find yourself right here. Brush and thick forest of fir and pine trees are going to surround you. It's late, it's fall, it's getting cold. The pond's not frozen yet, but you're going to have to survive here for a year. What shelter would you build? What clothing? Okay, so let's start with shelter. The shelter I would build would probably be made out of wood from the trees. Then on top, I would use the leaves and mud to keep me warm and dry. So that is my shelter. And it says, what clothing would you use to protect yourself from the elements? So I would have to use plants and animal furs to make my clothing so that I could stay warm. What tools would you create to acquire food? To get food, I would have to fish, so I would need to make a fishing rod. I also could eat plants. I might even make a bow so I could hunt. All of those are different ways that you could acquire food, right? Let's go to our next section. Migration routes of the first Americans. Scientists believe that the first Americans migrated on foot from Siberia. So look at Siberia, they went all the way over to North America, to Alaska. That's important. Now there's a strip called the Bering Strait that separates Alaska and Asia. But there was a time when they were connected. So if you were to go to Alaska right now, this is not connected to Siberia, but it used to be. And it was called a land bridge. 30,000 years ago, during the last ice age, temperatures fell, and much of the Earth was covered by glaciers, sheets of ice up to a mile thick, and waterlocked. And when with water locked up in glaciers, the level of the water dropped 300 feet. This exposed a bridge between Asia and North America. So it's important to notice they exposed the bridge. In the summer, the grasslands attracted these mammoths, right? You guys have seen woolly mammoths, which are long-haired cousins of elephants. Over thousands of years, the animals slowly spread eastward, and generations of families followed because they needed to get the mammoths to eat. Armed with only these stone-tipped spears, they killed these huge, powerful animals for food. Eventually, perhaps between 10,000 and 20,000 years ago, some hunters actually crossed this bridge with the mammoths and got to North America. Other migrants may have traveled along the coast and caught fish and seal and other mammals. That feels important. Once in America, hunters followed the animals south where springs brought fresh grass. Then, 10,000 years ago, the earth got even warmer. Glaciers melted, oceans rose, and the land bridges disappeared. That's important because a lot of change is happening 10,000 years ago. Mammoths and other prey began to die off. It could have been from overhunting, it could have been a changing climate, or both. The descendants of Siberian hunters had to find new food, new materials, new clothing, new shelter. These people, the Native Americans, became hunter-gatherers, catching small animals, fishing, and collecting edible plants and seeds. For thousands of years, they spread to different continents. All right. The first Americans migrated from modern day. So where did they start from? Let's look at our map. Siberia. To modern day. Where did they end up? Ooh, they went all the way through here. So Siberia to present-day Alaska. So we can say Alaska. That's the first place they went. They crossed the land bridge on blank. Foot. That's the only one that makes sense. They can't cross on California or began on Mammoths or ended or New York. They're going to cross on foot. The bridge disappeared after the Ice Age ended, right? That's when they got the big oceans. Let's check and see if we're right. Oh, good. What is the term Barandrina in your own words? So they say in their words, right here, a wide bridge of land. So, in my own words, I would say Barandrina is a bridge between two different lands that is not very big and has water underneath it. Draw a simple illustration to represent. So I'm going to make it simple. Here's my bridge. Here's Alaska. Here's Siberia. I'm going to say Siberia. Siberia. I'm going to say Alaska. And I'm going to say India. I could put some water here. Move Siberia. See if I can get a shape of water. We have little people. A little person walking across. geography. We've got more people walking. We put a little land right there. Geography. Land over here. There's water. Water. So life science is water. And water. There we go. There's my illustration. Where did the first Americans come from? Remember, we learned they came from Siberia. Where did they migrate? They migrated to North America, Alaska to California. Alright, next section. And we'll do a new video for that section. If you're getting sections 2, we'll do sections 2 all the way through the summer.